afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephanie Wilkinson. I'm the Manager of Communications and Media with Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency. Joining us today are Lieutenant Colonel Jason Hudson, Commander Land Task Force Operation LENTUS 2505, and SPSA's Vice-President of Operations, Steve Roberts. Please note that this call is being recorded, and later today, the video recording will be posted on our YouTube and Facebook pages. We'll first hear from Steve Roberts and then Lieutenant Colonel Hudson. After this, we'll go into questions. We have a hard stop at 2 p.m., so we will ask members of the media to ask one question, and if we have time remaining, we'll go to follow-ups. With that, I will turn over to Steve to provide an update on the wildfires in Saskatchewan. Steve.
Thanks, Stephanie. Good afternoon. As of today, we have 57 active wildfires in Saskatchewan, 406 so far this year, which is well above our 5-year average of 333. In addition to our own crews working on these fires, we have also 260 Type 3 local firefighters assisting us, 15 structural fire departments assisting us, and currently we have support in the province from Quebec, Ontario, British Columbia, Mexico, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Australia, and Prince Edward Island. I'll allow the colonels to talk about the Armed Forces commitment to Saskatchewan here shortly. I'll run through some of the fires. Not significant change on most, other than the fire by Beauval. So the Muskeg fire has changed in that we've been very successful on the southern part of that town, by Beauval, and the impact of that is Beauval is returning its P3, so its non-health residents, to the town starting today. On the other end of that fire, the far eastern side is now impacting near the town of Pinehouse, and that community will now be going under an evacuation order and removing all of their non-essential residents from the community starting today. Our other fires and our evacuations remain the same. We still have 11 communities out. That includes Lac La Planche, P1s and 2s from the village of Beauval, the hamlet of Jans Bay, La Planche Reserve, resort subdivision of Little Amiot Lake. Ramsey Bay is also evacuated due to the fire by the National Park, which has again impacted that community. This will be their second time they've had to leave. Patchnuck English River First Nation is on evacuation. Canoe Lake, Canoe Narrows, and Montreal Lake Cree Nation had evacuated its P1s and 2 and are currently in the process of repatriating those individuals to their community. Northern Hamlet of Coal Bay has their P1 and 2 individuals out for evacuation, as well as Isle Cross, their P1s and 2s. And as I mentioned previously, the northern village of Pinehouse is now escalating their evacuation to include all non-essential citizens starting today. That leaves our numbers roughly the same as they were last briefing, about 3,000 people displaced at this time due to wildfires in the province. On another note, the deadline for PDAP has been extended, so for those seeking provincial disaster assistance, we have extended the deadline. Private applications are still required to be submitted within 6 months of the disaster, but we are asking all PDAP applicants to get their applications in as soon as they can once they've had a discussion with their direct insurer. On another final note, we have not seen any more values lost in the last week and a half, so those numbers remain the same from the original fires. And the long-term weather, unfortunately, is not going to be favorable. We are not seeing any significant rainfall. We will continue to see the hot, dry weather going forward, and as such, the provincial fire ban will remain in effect until further notice.
Thank you, Steve. Now I'll turn over to Lieutenant Colonel Hudson for some remarks.
Thanks, Steve. So good afternoon, folks. I am Lieutenant Colonel Hudson, and I am the Land Task Force Commander for Operation LENTUS. First off, I'd like to say that Canadian Armed Forces are proud to stand with the people of Saskatchewan during this challenging wildfire season. At the province's request, up to 300 soldiers have deployed to the northern communities to provide Type 3 firefighting support to the PSPA team. Upon request and guidance from SPSA, CAF members, in conjunction with our provincial partners, are focusing efforts in 3 primary areas: Wahakman, Beauval, and La Loche. This support enables in-place provincial wildfire teams to focus efforts on more critical areas, reinforcing interagency effort to protect lives, infrastructure, and valued land. And the response has been exceptionally fast, well coordinated, and deeply rooted in the CAF's commitment to serving Canada, as well as providing support to those who need it. Understanding the impact of the wildfire season is having with the province, our soldiers are energized and eager to help those who need it. And as a final comment, and I'm going to echo some of the comments from the soldiers who are on the line right now, the welcoming was fantastic. So a big thank you to the folks within the communities who welcomed us into their homes. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel. We will now go into questions. So we'll start in the room here. Just a reminder, 1 question. We'll go to follow-ups if there's time remaining. So, okay.
Is it standard for the military to have trained firefighters? And I understand that these are level 3 firefighters. So do you have your own fire service within the forces, or is it part of general training?
So this is an added layer training that we receive. So we have a unit that we call an immediate reaction unit that is always on standby, particularly during the vulnerable times of the year. And preemptively, we conduct Type 3, or we call it S100, with our internal military firefighters.
And what other firefighting equipment are you guys equipped with?
So in terms of specific firefighting equipment, we really leveraged SPSA for that equipment. But folks definitely around Prince Albert and the northern communities are going to see the green machines moving north. But that is more specific to our logistical tail that comes with this type of task.
So specifically what we have done is we have supplied all the hand tools and small pumps and personal protective equipment that more suitable for wildfire than typically their route normal assignments. So you will see, for instance, the armed forces individuals in orange coveralls supplied by the Public Safety Agency, hard hats, gloves, rather than their typical green uniforms while they're working for us, and that's just to accommodate them. And again, we supply the tools, they supply the trained individuals, and interesting enough, that is a result of the after action in 2015, where the military came to Saskatchewan and there was an after review. And one of the things was to provide training in advance. As in 2015, the military arrived and had to spend almost 3 days in training before they go to the fire line. And because of that, DND, the Department of National Defense, shifted their priorities, and now they do their training ongoing. So when they arrive, they can go right to the fire with a very initial briefing. And as you heard, they're already on the fire line as we speak.
Move to virtual questions. Okay, Jeffrey.
Hey, Jeffrey Tram from CBC News. What's the update on English River First Nation, La Planche, and Patunuk? They're telling us that they're in high risk of losing their communities. Could you tell us what's happening there?
So that would be the muskeg fire by Pachunak and between Pachunak and Beauval. The fire is still a significant way away from Pachunak, but it has been moving slightly northward along the highway. They are still primarily protecting the highway and the infrastructure. But as I mentioned earlier, the southern part of the fire has been very well secured, and the individuals who are non-medical will be returning to Beauval starting today and occupying their community again because the fire has passed and the area has been secured.
Thank you, Steve. We'll move to Jacob, and please identify your media outlet.
Hi, it's Jacob Bamhauer here from CGME. I'm just wondering, what kind of supports can the evacuees coming back to Beauval, like what are they, what kind of help is the SPSA providing to those evacuees returning home?
So part of the supports will be, again, supplied by their community. So that's making sure that basic infrastructure exists, that key individuals, for instance, these store, grocery keeper, the gas stations are open and available, their healthcare centers are open, so that when they arrive, they can basically start to get back to business as usual in their communities. Schools, again, are closed now, but anything that's typically government-run operations will be up and running for them. In addition, as previous, they will be getting some assistance from the provincial government as they were impacted by the evacuation, so they will be receiving a $500 check as announced by the provincial government to, again, restock their fridges, do any cleanup they might have to do in their house because of the smoke. So they will be receiving that as well once they return to their communities.
Thank you, Steve. Jeremy, you're up next.
Hi there, Jeremy Symes with the Canadian Press. Just a question about Montreal Cree Lake returning. So that is today, I think I heard you say. I'm just wondering how many from the nation are returning.
There were, so let me check here, 197 P1s and P2s had left Montreal Lake, and the majority of them will be returning except a couple that will have to stay here because of medical complications that they have. And I believe that they are also keeping a number of newborn infants and mothers with newborn infants out of the community as well at this time. So most of the 197 will be returning today or soon, shortly after.
Mackenzie, you're up next.
Thanks. Yeah, this is Mackenzie with Global News. Thanks for taking my question. This one is for Colonel Hudson. Just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what your experience has been like so far on the ground in Saskatchewan, helping both, firefighter operations and affected communities.
Yes, so upon approval of the request for federal assistance, we were actually hours away from Prince Albert, and immediately we were welcomed by the team here and integrated very quickly. Shortly thereafter, we pushed the teams to the northern communities that we anticipated working out of, and were welcomed with open arms. Quite frankly, it was quite incredible, and the folks who are on the line now are receiving incredible support from the teams there.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel. John, you're up next.
Hey there, John with CTV Saskatoon. Can you tell us, and I may have missed it in the update, but is there an update on Ramsey Bay? I know it's probably the closest community to that bull wildfire.
Correct. So the fire did move north 2 days ago, and that prompted an evacuation of Ramsey Bay for the second time. Their emergency plan identifies any fire that encroaches within 6 kilometers triggers an evacuation order. And so that happened. We have been working with most of our resources dedicated to some of that in the area, including heavy equipment and crews, to ensure that it does not impact the community. And at this time, it has not impacted the community.
Thank you, Steve. I don't see any further questions online, so we'll go back to the room.
I have another question. There's about almost 5 days of plus 30 weather coming out. How worried are you about the impact on the fire?
Well, two things will happen. Obviously, plus 30 weather is going to cause the fire behavior to grow. The concern will be is the wind that comes with it. High winds will be problematic because the fires will move rapidly, but also the shifts in winds. As we focus our efforts on one area of the fire that's posing a threat, as we know from the Muskeg fire, the north end is a threat to one community, but the south end is a threat. So as we move resources to try and anticipate the wind and the weather and the fire behavior, we have to be prepared to move them back and reshift our priorities if needed. So that's going to be the biggest threat. We have resourced, and as I mentioned earlier, we have brought more crews in, including the military resources for this very reason, is we do not see any quick reprieve from what we're facing right now. So there is a lot of fire line, a lot of containment, and still a lot of threat if it's unattended and we're not able to contain some of those critical areas especially.
Thanks, Steve. And as a matter for those in the room to please identify your name and media. Thanks. So we'll go, any more questions in the room?
Are there any contingency plans in case the wildfire
Well, we will actually, so just so you, the Public Safety Agency will continue to support all wildfire activities, either by extending our own crews and our own resources. In addition, we will continue to seek resources from our partners, local community partners, as well as national, international partners. And should the need arise, and we have that criteria, we will again have the discussion with the federal government about getting federal resources if that's a requirement.
Are you continuing discussions with the government to have those federal resources as soon as possible?
So we have ongoing discussions with our contact with Public Safety Canada, and even in this deployment, myself and the Lieutenant Colonel are talking every day about where are we with our needs and our issues, and how we can use their services, including are we at a spot where we may have to ask for more, make another federal request, or for an extension, or even to make sure we're tactfully using the resources we have in the best measure possible to reduce our risk. So we have those discussions daily to make sure we're aligned, and should we need more resources, again, they're one resource. We've got resources moving consistently, including our own staff, and that includes going right into October. In a couple years ago, we had to fight fire right into October and make those arrangements. So.
Sorry, I had lost. The military personnel that are here, it sounds like they're billeted with people in their homes, if I'm getting that correctly, and how many are there?
Okay, so with two locations, particularly with the Green Lake area as well as La Loche, not in their homes. There are some empty schools that we're using right now for accommodations, but it's the folks from the local community that facilitated that for us.
And are they providing like other kind of support? Like
It's just that the use of the facility outside of those amenities, SPSA has really helped us out with the real life pieces, and the military has filled the gap on that.
We'll go back online. Jeremy?
Hi again, Jeremy Symes with the Canadian Press. Can you just explain how the fight is going against these current wildfires?
So as we've discussed previously, these are large wildfires. So because of that, it involves a lot of structural planning and focus, putting our highest trained, most critical resources on those critical components of the fires, those next to communities, those that are extremely volatile at this time, and then looking at our secondary resources and putting them in place to keep those fires stable and contained so that we can focus. So one of the issues of bringing in some resources from outside is not necessarily a new fire, it's on those critical areas, but also being able to support the rest. So over the last 3-4 days, there's been 2 instances where the ditch fire had a flare up next to the highway. And even though it's all been contained, there's those couple spots, but we can redirect resources and in a short order put it back into containment. And that is an ongoing effort considering how many fires we have and how large they are. And without a break in the weather to change that dynamic, it is a constant flow of monitoring, re-engaging, engaging again, reprioritizing, and then we're back at it again. So it is a very dynamic situation for the province right now.
And just quickly for the Colonel, can I just get you to spell your first and last name? I missed it. I'm sorry.
Yes, Jason Hudson, Jason Hudson.
Thank you. I don't see any more questions, so I'll do a final call out. Okay. And with that, this will include today's media availability. Have a safe rest of your day, everyone.